Millions walk the streets of New York City every day. They pass towering skyscrapers, historic landmarks, and bustling avenues. But beneath their feet lies another city, a hidden world of forgotten tunnels, buried rivers, and abandoned stations. This is the story of the hidden New York, a city beneath the city, holding secrets that most New Yorkers never see. Before the skyscrapers rose, the island of Manhattan was a land of marshes and winding streams. Most are gone, but some still flow. Minetta Brook was once a trout stream in the West Village. Known as Snake Water or Evil Spirit, it was buried alive in the 1820s. But nature refuses to be silenced. Today, the brook still flows beneath the concrete, flooding basements and reminding us of what lies below. The transit system itself is a labyrinth of the forgotten. Over the decades, stations that once pulsed with life have been left to rot. The crown jewel was the City Hall station. Opened in 1904, its beauty was short-lived, closed 40 years later as trains grew too long for its curves. Deep under Brooklyn lies the Atlantic Avenue Tunnel, the world's oldest subway passage, sealed in 1861 and lost for over a century. Rumors swirl of buried steam locomotives and even a murder, a British contractor supposedly interred within these very walls. Even the elite had their secrets. Beneath the Waldorf Astoria lies Track 61, a private siding used by President Franklin D. Roosevelt. It allowed him to travel directly from his armored train into a secret elevator, shielding his wheelchair use from a curious public. During the Cold War, the city prepared for the unthinkable. In 2006, a massive bunker was found hidden inside the Brooklyn Bridge. It contained over 300,000 survival crackers and medical supplies, a time capsule of nuclear paranoia buried in stone. Long before the bunkers, these same vaults held champagne. The constant temperature made the bridge anchorages perfect for wine merchants. But the underground isn't just for ghosts and steel. For years, it was a sanctuary for those the surface world cast aside. The Freedom Tunnel became home to the Mole People, a self-governed society living in the shadows, away from the eyes of the law. They built a life in the dark, with their own rules and their own stories, until the city finally cleared them out in the 90s. The Mole People didn't just survive, they built a society. Shanties with electricity and running water, carved out of the city's forgotten veins. But the city's underbelly is as dangerous as it is mysterious. Miles of aging steam pipes pulse like arteries beneath the pavement. They left behind art, massive murals in the dark, testaments to a hidden culture that flourished where no one else dared to look. In 2007, an 83-year-old pipe failed, sending a 40-story geyser of boiling mud into the sky, shaking the very foundations of the city. Subterranean labor was a lawless frontier. In 1902, a dynamite shed at Park Avenue exploded, killing 5 and shattering windows for blocks. The construction of this subterranean world was born of corruption and tragedy, with voodoo contractors cutting corners at every turn. Contracts were awarded to voodoo contractors who gambled with lives to build the tunnels we ride today, leading to fatal accidents and deep-seated corruption. New York is a city that constantly builds over its own past. Each layer of concrete buries another chapter of its darker history. In 1960, a massive inferno erupted near Grand Central. Over 100 people were trapped in the smoke, exposing the lethal flaws of the city's ventilation. So the next time you walk down a quiet avenue or wait for a train, remember, there is a city beneath you. The city sits atop 100 miles of high-pressure steam pipes. Some are over a century old, pulsing like ticking time bombs beneath your feet. A world of lost rivers, secret bunkers, and broken dreams. A world that never truly sleeps and never truly disappears. New York City, some secrets are meant to stay buried, but the underground always remembers. Before the steel reached for the clouds, there was Manhattan, the island of many hills. A wilderness so diverse it would rival any national park today. Imagine a world of towering oaks and chestnut trees, where wolves and mountain lions roamed the hills and beavers built dams on every stream. This was the home of the Lenape. They were the stewards of this landscape, managing the forests with fire and living in harmony with the tides. The island's main artery was a trail called the Wickwascek. Today we know it as Broadway, a path carved by ancient feet long before the first carriage. At villages like Sapokanakan, the Lenape cultivated tobacco and traded along the shorelines of a river they called the Mahicantuck. But the true secret of Mannahatta was its water. Over 66 miles of crystal-clear streams and 21 ponds once defined this land. The heart of this network was the Collect Pond, a 60-foot deep spring-fed oasis that provided life to the early settlements. But as the city grew, the water turned sour. Tanneries and breweries choked the pond with waste, transforming a sanctuary into a toxic hazard. By the 1800s, the pond was drained and filled. The canal built to carry its water away became the foundation for Canal Street. Then there was Minetta Brook, the Snakewater. It meandered through what is now Greenwich Village, a marshy wetland now buried under brick. City planners saw these streams as obstacles to progress. They leveled the many hills and forced the living water into dark, brick-lined prisons. The rugged topography was erased, replaced by the relentless geometry of the grid, but you cannot truly kill a river. Beneath the pavement, the rivers still fight back. Minetta Brook still haunts the basements of the West Village, a ghost that refuses to depart. Modern skyscrapers must use massive pumps to keep the ancient water table from reclaiming their foundations. The island is still Mannahatta at its core. The 66 miles of water are still there, hidden in the dark, waiting beneath the feet of millions who never know they are crossing a river. Rivers like Tibbetts Brook were diverted into sewers as large as houses, serving the city's waste while their natural beauty was forgotten. Now, there are efforts to daylight these lost streams, to bring them back to the surface and let New York breathe once again. A few hills remain. At Bennett Park, you can still stand on the original bedrock, 265 feet above the sea. At places like Pier 26, we are beginning to remember. We are planting the trees and grasses that Henry Hudson saw on that autumn day in 1609. The transformation was total, a triumph of engineering over ecology. But the ghost of Mannahatta lingers in every shadow. We know these secrets because of maps left behind by generals and spies. They recorded the hills and marshes before they were buried forever. Using modern science, we've reconstructed the entire food web. We know where the black bears slept and where the ospreys hunted. Whole mountains were moved to make way for the avenues. The many hills were sacrificed for the sake of the straight line. The next time it rains in New York, look at the gutters. You're seeing the echoes of a landscape that was here long before us. Perhaps the future of New York lies in its past, a city that integrates the nature it once tried to bury. The Lenape trails are still our roads, their rivers are still our foundations. The past is never truly buried. Beneath the concrete, the ancient shoreline still breathes. Mannahatta is still here, waiting to be rediscovered. We've only just begun to scratch the surface. The secrets of the city beneath the city are deeper than any skyscraper. Modern New York is a masterpiece of human will. But nature has a memory, and its memory is long. This was Chapter 1. The skyscrapers are rising, but the foundations are built on ghosts. New York remembers. Beneath the steel and concrete of Manhattan lies a complex, invisible network, a world of ghost streams that defined the island long before the first skyscraper. The largest of these was the Sawkill, a powerhouse of a river that once drained the massive wilderness we now call the Upper West Side. When Central Park was designed, the Sawkill wasn't erased. It was harnessed, its natural flow trapped to create the serene waters of the lake. Until 1930, it fed Ladies Pond, a hidden oasis for ice skating that the city eventually filled and paved over, burying a century of memories. Further south, in the heart of Murray Hill, lay Sunfish Pond, a spring-fed landmark that once sat on the great Inklenburg estate. Legend says it was here that Mary Murray delayed British officers with tea, allowing George Washington's troops to escape through the shadows. But by the 1830s, the pond was dying. Polluted by industry and drained by firefighters during a catastrophic blaze, it was filled and forgotten by 1839. For modern engineers, the truth lies in the Vela map, the primary tool used to predict where the ground beneath our feet might suddenly turn to water. Even the giants are not immune. Skyscraper foundations like the Empire State Building must employ perpetual pumps to hold back the ghost streams. Minetta Brook, the snake water, still haunts the West Village, flooding basements and reminding residents that the ancient streambed persists. These buried rivers created pockets of unstable quicksand, delaying early subway construction and nearly defeating the engineers of the turn of the century. To find the truth, one must go down into the echoing brick culverts where the rivers have been imprisoned for nearly 200 years. They are not gone. They are pressurized, following their original paths, pulsing like the city's hidden blood through ancient arteries of stone. The cost of this burial is millions in insurance claims and infrastructure repairs every year as the island's hidden water table fights back. When modern storms overwhelm the grid, the rivers resurface. They reclaim the streets they once owned, a reminder of nature's persistence. There is a growing movement to daylight these lost streams, to unearth the water and let the city's ancient geography breathe once again. From the Sawkill to the Minetta, the rivers still seek the sea. They are the ghosts of Mannahatta, waiting for their chance to return. Perhaps the era of burying our past is coming to an end, a future where the city and its rivers finally find peace together. Manhattan's buried rivers, they are still here, they are still flowing, and they will never truly be contained. This was Chapter 2. The hunt for New York's hidden history continues. Some things were never meant to stay buried. And a final secret. The halls of justice today sit directly atop the pristine oasis of the Collect Pond. Even the law is built on ghosts. Where Sunfish Pond once reflected the stars, trolley barns and railroad stables later stood, utilizing the very ground the water once claimed. The Sawkill's mouth still lies beneath East 74th Street. Its powerful flow now a pressurized secret beneath the high rises of modern medicine. Modern engineers must use 19th century maps and 21st century technology to keep the island from reclaiming its own. This is the city's hidden war. New York City, a masterpiece of engineering, built over a landscape that refuses to be forgotten. The rivers are always watching. Wait for the next chapter. The deeper we go, the darker it gets. New York's secrets go further than you think. The Sawkill was once a site of toil, where enslaved people floated logs to build New Amsterdam. Their stories as buried as the river itself. The fire at the House of Refuge was so intense that the pond was pumped dry, reaching the ancient mud at the bottom before it was finally filled. Rivers like Tibbetts Brook were diverted into tunnels as large as houses, their natural beauty replaced by the functional dark of the city's bowels. Manhattan is not just land, it is a vertical stack of history, built over the water that once was and still is. The rivers are the city's soul. The foundations of New York's halls of justice are built on a curse, a ghost of a lake that created the most dangerous neighborhood on earth. For 2 centuries, the Collect Pond was the city's crown jewel, a 60-foot deep spring-fed oasis that provided life to every New Yorker. But as the city hungered for industry, the shores were choked by tanneries and slaughterhouses, dumping their filth into the city's heart. By 1800, the oasis had become a festering cesspool, a toxic hazard that could no longer be ignored by a growing metropolis. The city's solution was to drain it, a decade-long project that culminated in a botched attempt to reclaim the land. Engineers leveled Bayard's Mount, a 100-foot hill, and used the earth to fill the depression. But they buried the secrets along with the lake. The buried vegetation began to rot, releasing methane gas, while the ancient springs refused to stop flowing. The ground itself was dying. As the ground subsided, houses began to tilt and sink. Foundations cracked, and dampness permeated the very air. The wealthy fled in terror. In the ruins left by the rich, the most desperate found a home. This unstable marsh became the 5 Points, the world's most infamous slum. By the 1840s, it was the most densely populated square mile in the Western world, a human hive where life was cheap and short. Single-family homes were subdivided into windowless cages. Families lived in cellars where the ancient pond water still seeped through the floorboards. 5 Points was the epicenter of every plague. Cholera and yellow fever thrived in the stagnant, contaminated air of the cursed land. The darkest corner of the district was the old brewery, a former factory turned into a nightmare of human misery. It reportedly housed 1,000 souls in its squalid rooms. Legend says it averaged a murder every single night for 15 years. With no police to keep the peace, the neighborhood was ruled by the code of the street. This was the birthplace of the American gang. The Dead Rabbits, predominantly Irish, ferociously violent. They carried their namesake on a pike as they marched into battle. Their rivals were the Bowery Boys, nativist tradesmen who viewed the immigrants as a plague on the American soul. Even saving lives was a blood sport. Fire companies were paramilitary gangs fighting for control of hydrants while buildings burned to the ground. In 1857, the rivalry exploded into a 2-day war. 1,000 men fought in the streets as 2 rival police forces watched and did nothing. The state militia was finally called in to stop the slaughter. But the blood of the dead rabbits had already stained the cursed soil of the Points. In 1842, Charles Dickens ventured into this darkness. He called it a square of leprous houses, a place too loathsome for words. Yet, in the cellars of Almack's, he saw something else. A vibrant, desperate cultural exchange where African and Irish traditions merged. In this squalor, tap dance and jazz were born. The Points was a melting pot of culture, heated by the fires of poverty and survival. Looming over the slum was the Tombs, a prison built in the style of an Egyptian tomb, literally sinking into the marsh of the old pond. It was a place of public executions and private torture, a monument to the city's failed attempt to police its most dangerous district. Reform came through the lens of a camera. Jacob Riis exposed the truth to the world, proving that the cursed were simply the forgotten. By the end of the century, the Mulberry Bend was demolished. The houses that tilted on the rotten earth were finally swept away. The fire at the House of Refuge was so intense that the pond was pumped dry, reaching the ancient mud at the bottom before it was finally filled. The 5 Points was paved over by the Civic Center. The intersection is gone, buried beneath the weight of progress and law. But the name 5 Points remains, a synonym for the raw, violent, and diverse history that built the New York we know today. Manhattan is a vertical stack of history. Each layer of concrete hides a secret, and every secret has a price. The Points was the price of a city. The deeper we go, the darker it gets. New York's secrets go further than you think. Wait for the next chapter. New York City, built on ghosts, built on water, built on the Points. The underground always remembers. Dickens noted that even the rats were forced to move away in search of better lodgings. In the Points, the vermin were the lucky ones. The rotting hills released methane gas that haunted the streets, a spectral blue flame that convinced many the land itself was truly cursed. They were called the mudsills of society, the people who lived on the soggy ground that the rest of the world tried to bury and forget. While the gangs rioted, the police fought their own war. The metropolitan and municipal forces brawled for jurisdiction as the city burned. The Tombs prison was a granite monument to death, its Egyptian columns sinking inches every year into the soft, treacherous marsh of the old pond. Listen to the heartbeat of the Points. In the cross rhythms of the cellar dance halls, the sound of America was beginning to take shape. Reformers like the 5 Points Mission tried to bring light to the dark. They demolished the old brewery, but they could never wash away the history. The Tombs still stands today in a different form, a modern detention center on the same cursed ground, keeping the tradition of incarceration alive. If you walk the Bend at night, you can almost hear the echoes of the voices that were silenced by the wrecking ball of the 1890s. New York City is a masterpiece of human will, but nature has a memory, and its memory is long. The Points were the beginning. This was chapters 3 and 4. The skyscrapers are rising, but the foundations are built on ghosts. New York remembers. deeper still. The story of the hidden New York is only getting darker. See you in Chapter 5. New York is a city of millions, always moving, always building. But beneath the feet of every commuter lies a silent population that outnumbers the living. Many of the city's most iconic parks were born as potter's fields, public cemeteries for the indigent, the unidentified, and the victims of plague. Bryant Park, now a place of literature and leisure, was once the final stop for the city's poor. In 1823, it became a massive potter's field after burials were banned in Lower Manhattan. At Washington Square alone, over 20,000 souls remain. They were never moved. They were simply covered with earth and paved over. In 1840, the bodies were ordered moved to make way for the Croton Reservoir. But historical records suggest the clearance was hasty, leaving thousands of souls beneath the reservoir's weight. In 2015, workers upgrading water mains struck stone. They found intact 19th century burial vaults, hidden a mere 3.5 feet beneath the asphalt. Madison Square Park was the city's first public graveyard. Opened in 1794, it reached capacity in just 3 years, a testament to the brutal mortality of early New York. But the most significant discovery came in 1991. During the construction of a federal skyscraper, the Earth gave up a secret it had held for 2 centuries. During the yellow fever epidemics, the death rate outpaced the diggers. Mass graves were carved into the island's outskirts, now the very center of the city. A 1697 law banned Africans from New York's public cemeteries. Forced to find their own space, they established a 6-acre burial ground outside the city limits. Between 15 and 20,000 people were buried here. Archaeological study revealed a grim reality. Nearly half were children under the age of 12. Their bones told stories of excruciating labor, neck and back fractures from building the very infrastructure that New Yorkers walk upon today. Today, the monument stands as a powerful reminder to learn from the past to prepare for the future. The dead are no longer forgotten. While the many lie in mass graves, the elite were interred in secret. Beneath the streets of Little Italy lie the only active catacombs in New York. When the African burial ground was rediscovered in 1991, it ignited a movement. The community demanded that the city stop building and start remembering. The catacombs of St. Patrick's consist of 37 hermetically sealed vaults designed to contain the gases of decay within the city's bedrock. In 2003, the remains were finally reinterred in hand-carved coffins from Ghana, bridging the gap between the stolen past and a recognized future. Inside is the vault of General Thomas Eckert, a confidant of Abraham Lincoln. Legend says the first draft of the Emancipation Proclamation was written at his desk. Science revealed even deeper secrets. Isotope analysis of the teeth proved that many were born in Africa, surviving the Middle Passage only to die in the cold of New York. Beside the generals lie the Delmonicos, the family that pioneered fine dining in America, their legacy now resting in the cold silence of the brick. Socialite Annie Leary donated a fortune to the church on one condition: that her family be buried directly beneath the sacristy's altar. After 2 centuries of isolation, the catacombs were opened to the public. Candlelight now reveals the faces of those who shaped the city's soul, but many crypts were lost. When churches were razed for progress, their vaults were often abandoned, left to be discovered by future generations. New York is a city in constant tension between preservation and progress. Our modern life is built literally upon the shoulders of the dead. How many bodies remain? Historians estimate hundreds of thousands, a vast, invisible population resting just inches below the sidewalk. Countess Annie Leary's donation of $200,000 came with a grim ironclad clause: her family's rest must be beneath the altar itself. The next time you walk through a park or cross a street, remember the city beneath. New York is a living monument to those who lie in the dark. The walls were built 30 inches thick, a fortress of brick and cement designed to keep the gases of the dead from the nostrils of the living above. The city of the dead is not a relic of the past. It is the very foundation of the present, and the underground never forgets. In 2021, fragmentary remains found during park renovations were respectfully reinterred. Even today, the city is still coming to terms with its past. Sankofa, a West African word meaning, go back and fetch it. It teaches us that our future is rooted in the history we once tried to pave over. Even our prisons are built on graves. The infamous tombs once stood directly atop a potter's field, its granite sinking into the marsh of the dead. Beneath the cathedral, General Eckert's desk stands in the silence, a piece of history where the words that freed millions were first put to paper. In the corner of Washington Square stands the hangman's elm. Legend says it witnessed the final moments of those who were then buried just yards away in the potter's field. Manhattan is a vertical stack of life and death, a masterpiece of human will built over a landscape that refuses to be forgotten. Beneath the very asphalt of Broadway, forgotten church vaults remain. We walk over the shoulders of the past every single day, separated by only a few feet of stone. The deeper we go, the darker it gets. New York's secrets go further than you think. See you in Chapter 7. The estimated body count is staggering. Hundreds of thousands of remains, a hidden metropolis of the dead that anchors the city of the living. Every day, millions of New Yorkers hurtle through the dark in a system they take for granted. But the New York subway was not just built with steel and stone, it was built with blood. They were called sandhogs, predominantly Irish, Italian, and Polish immigrants who performed the most dangerous job in urban history, digging beneath the riverbeds for $2 a day. The unofficial rule of the tunnel was grim. For every mile of track carved beneath New York, one man was lost to the darkness. To keep the rivers from flooding the dig sites, tunnels were pumped full of compressed air. It was a high-pressure tomb where the very air you breathed could kill you. If a man surfaced too quickly, nitrogen bubbled in his blood, caisson disease, the bends, brought agonizing pain, paralysis, and for many, a silent death. In 1903, disaster struck at Fort George. A ceiling collapsed 100 feet below street level, pinning 10 men under tons of rock. 7 never saw the sun again. Then came the blowout of 1916. Sandhog Marshall Mabey was literally shot through the riverbed by air pressure, propelled 20 feet into the air. He survived. His colleagues did not. Official records undercounted the dead. Hired off the street, many laborers simply disappeared from the payrolls when the earth claimed them, their names lost to time. But the dangers weren't just physical. The subway was a battlefield for private empires and voodoo contractors who navigated the corrupt halls of Tammany Hall. Private companies built tunnels with incompatible designs, a war of specifications to ensure their rivals could never use their tracks, even at the cost of safety. Today, this underground empire is littered with ghosts, fully intact stations and platforms that haven't seen a passenger in decades. The crown jewel was the City Hall station, a palace for the people, opened in 1904 with skylights and intricate mosaics, but its beauty was its downfall. The station's tight curve created lethal gaps as trains grew longer. Too rigid to be renovated, it was closed on New Year's Eve, 1945, and left to rot. Worth Street was a victim of progress. Closed in 1962 because it was too close to its neighbor, it remains a shadow visible only to the keenest commuters. The same fate befell 18th Street. Squeezed out by the expansion of Union Square, it was deemed an unnecessary delay and silenced forever in 1948. But the greatest secret is the Beach Pneumatic Transit, a secret illegal tunnel built in 1870 as a demonstration of a wind-powered subway. Lost for 40 years, it was accidentally rediscovered in 1912. Workers found the station perfectly preserved, a Victorian time capsule buried under the feet of Boss Tweed. Why do they stay closed? The answer is cold logic. The cost to modernize these palaces for the modern world reaches into the hundreds of millions. They remain as subterranean time capsules, a silent testament to the sandhogs who died to dig them and the dreams the city eventually outgrow. New York is a city built on the shoulders of the forgotten. The subway is its spine, but the ghosts are its soul. the underground always remembers. The journey isn't over. The deeper we go, the more the city reveals. See you in Chapter 9. Beneath the neon pulse of New York lies a world of shadows, a place where urban legend and tragic reality are separated only by a few feet of bedrock. In 1993, the world was captivated by a terrifying account. Thousands of people living in a secret hierarchy 7 levels beneath the streets. They spoke of mayors, elective systems, and children who had never seen the sun, a hidden civilization living in the city's deepest veins. But historians and geologists were skeptical. The natural caverns described simply cannot exist in Manhattan's dense structural makeup. The legend was a blend of fact and folklore. The reality was more grounded, but no less haunting. The epicenter was the Freedom Tunnel, a 2.5-mile stretch of Amtrak track, named after the artist Chris Freedom Pape, who turned these dark walls into an underground gallery. It became a sanctuary for the city's castaways. In the 1980s, the tunnel was home to an organized community. Not a secret city, but a shanty town built on the edge of survival. They built homes from scavenged wood, pirated electricity from the lines above, and maintained a semblance of domestic life in the dark. Filmmaker Mark Singer lived with them for 2 years, capturing the crushing intimacy of their world in the documentary Dark Days. Every day was a battle with the damp, the darkness, and the constant threat of being evicted by the trains that shared their home. In 1996, the end came with a rare victory. Amtrak and HUD provided housing vouchers, moving the tunnel dwellers into the sunlit world above. Today, the organized shanties are gone, but the tunnel people remain, highly transient, deeply hidden, living in the hatches and manholes of a city in crisis. While the poorest fought for survival, the most powerful New Yorkers were carving their own secrets. A parallel world of luxury and control. Beneath the Waldorf Astoria lies Track 61, a private siding built for the wealthy to arrive in private rail cars and vanish into the hotel. The track is legendary for its association with FDR. It was said he used it to shield his paralysis from the public, driving his limo directly onto a secret lift. While the stories are grand, the reality was limited. Roosevelt's documented use was rare, mostly during his 1944 campaign. But the legend persists. For decades, a rusted blue car sat on the tracks, rumored to be FDR's personal armor. In truth, it was a common tool car, a forgotten relic of Metro-North. But the secret isn't just history. As recently as 2003, Track 61 was reportedly prepared as an emergency escape route for the President of the United States. The fear of the 20th century left a deeper footprint. Rumors of dedicated government bunkers beneath Manhattan have haunted the city for generations. In 2006, a secret was confirmed. Workers found a massive Cold War bunker hidden inside a stone arch of the Brooklyn Bridge, stocked for nuclear winter. Over 350,000 survival crackers, water drums, and medical supplies. A time capsule of paranoia buried in the bridge's stone heart. But even before the bunkers, there were dreams of high-tech escape. In 1870, the beach pneumatic transit was an illegal, wind-powered subway. Sealed for 40 years, it was found in 1912, a Victorian time capsule sitting perfectly intact beneath the feet of millions who never knew it existed. From the shanties of the Freedom Tunnel to the private tracks of presidents, New York's underground is a mirror of the world above, a hierarchy of stone and steel. Myth and reality are often indistinguishable in the dark. But the city beneath the city is far more than just a subway. It is the repository of our secrets. Wait for the next chapter. The deeper we go, the darker it gets. New York's secrets go further than you think. The story of the hidden New York is drawing to its conclusion. The final secrets are yet to be revealed. See you in Chapter 11. The Freedom, who gave the tunnel its name, is now a legend of the art world. His work a testament to the culture that once flourished in the abyss. Today, thousands still seek refuge in the cracks of the city. For them, the tunnels are not legends or secrets. They are the only home they have. Deep within the Lex Yard, Track 61 still waits, a silent relic of an era when the elite could move through the city like ghosts in the machine. In 2003, the secret world of the elite was briefly reactivated for a president, a reminder that the underground empire is always ready to serve. New York City, a masterpiece of human will, built over a landscape that refuses to be forgotten. The secrets are deeper than you think. Beneath the glamour of the New York skyline lies a history of shadows, a subterranean network carved by the desperate and the dangerous. In the 1920s, Prohibition turned New York into the world's largest illegal liquor market. To survive, the mob had to go underground. An estimated 30,000 speakeasies flourished in the dark, served by a complex system of smuggling tunnels and hidden warehouses. Many of these routes were simple coal tunnels, repurposed by syndicates to move alcohol between buildings and dodge the relentless police raids. At Chumley's in Greenwich Village, a secret tunnel connected the bar to a house on Grove Street, providing a quick exit for thirsty patrons. The pinnacle of this subterranean engineering was the 21 Club, a bastion of luxury with a secret heart of brick and stone. Hidden behind a 2.5-ton invisible door was the club's legendary cellar, accessible only by a secret mechanism triggered by a wire skewer. Behind the brick lay thousands of cases of elite spirits, technically stored in the building next door to protect the club from legal seizure. During raids, a system of levers would dump the entire bar's stock into a chute, leading directly to the city sewers, destroying the evidence in seconds. This trade was governed by the Commission, a council of gang leaders who sought to end the violent wars and turn the underground into a business empire. Led by figures like Lucky Luciano, the mob's infrastructure was as organized as the city above, and its roots were just as deep. But as the 1920s faded, the city's subterranean fear shifted from the agents of prohibition to the specter of nuclear annihilation. The Cold War transformed the city's underground once again. Manhattan became a landscape of reinforced concrete and hidden survival caches. Under Governor Nelson Rockefeller, New York established the nation's most ambitious fallout shelter program, identifying sites for 11 million people. Thousands of buildings were marked with the iconic black and yellow badge, a promise of safety in a world on the brink of disaster. In 2006, that promise was rediscovered. City workers found a massive, forgotten bunker hidden deep inside the masonry of the Brooklyn Bridge. Inside was an untouched cache of 350,000 survival crackers, a time capsule of paranoia sealed in the bridge's stone heart. The cache contained medical supplies and plasma expanders, stamped with the pivotal years of the Cold War, 1957 and 1962. Beyond public shelters, the city built secret command centers, self-contained bunkers equipped with radio systems to maintain government continuity. Specialized transmitters were ready to relay information to Albany, a subterranean network of communication designed to survive the unthinkable. But was New York actually prepared? Historians today warn that many of these shelters were little more than psychological comfort, lacking basic ventilation. Most of the sites would have been locked or unusable in a real emergency, a fact that city officials began to acknowledge by removing the signs in 2017. The supplies themselves were grimly pragmatic, including instructions to reuse empty water drums as toilets, a stark reminder of the reality of life in the dark. The city's infrastructure became an existential blueprint, adapting stone and steel to the shifting threats of each decade. From the bootleggers' tunnels to the government's bunkers, New York's underground is a testament to the city's will to survive, no matter the cost. Manhattan is built on secrets, some told in the light, and some hidden in the dark. The underground always remembers. Wait for the final chapter. The story of the hidden New York is drawing to its end. The deepest secrets are yet to come. See you in the final chapter. Remember the wire skewer, the only key to the 21 Club's kingdom. In the underground, the smallest details protected the biggest secrets. The dates of Sputnik and the missile crisis are etched into New York's bedrock, a permanent record of the years the world held its breath. New York City, a masterpiece of human will, built over a landscape that refuses to be forgotten. The secrets go deeper than you think. Beneath the neon pulse of New York lies a history of catastrophe. a world where engineering triumph and human disaster collide in the dark. In 1903, the Fort George Tunnel became a tomb. 300 tons of rock collapsed without warning, crushing 10 men beneath the heights. The 1902 Park Avenue wreck killed 15. The smoke was so thick that trains collided blindly, forcing the city to banish steam forever. Then, the Malbone Street wreck, the deadliest in city history. A wooden train, a trainee driver, and a concrete wall claimed 93 lives. Modern New York faces its own ghosts. In 2007, an ancient steam pipe ruptured, sending a 40-story geyser of boiling mud into the sky. The force swallowed trucks and left a massive crater, a reminder that the city's heat is a pulsing, high-pressure hazard. In 2014, East Harlem was rocked by a gas explosion that leveled 2 buildings. The cause? A century-old pipe compromised by rot. Subway fires are a subterranean nightmare. In 1960, the Grand Central Fire filled the complex with smoke that traveled miles through the tunnels. The 1991 Union Square derailment was born of error. A train traveling 50 miles per hour through a 10-mile switch sheared itself in half. Nature is the ultimate threat. In 2012, Hurricane Sandy flooded 7 subway tunnels floor to ceiling with corrosive, lethal salt water. Hurricane Ida brought a different terror, pluvial flooding. 3 inches of rain in a single hour trapped 17 trains in the dark. The most tragic toll was in the basements. 11 New Yorkers died in minutes as water followed ancient riverbeds back into the city's foundations. The MTA pumps 14 million gallons of water every single day just to keep the system dry, a constant war against the island's water table. New York is a masterpiece built over a landscape that never stops fighting back. The disasters of the past are the warnings of our future. On September 11th, the world watched the towers fall. But as the dust settled, a new battle began, unseen, perilous, and deep beneath the wreckage. The World Trade Center sat in the bathtub, a 9-block area of landfill carved 70 feet down to the bedrock and sealed against the river. Its shield was the slurry wall, a 3-foot-thick concrete dam that stood between the towers and the crushing weight of the Hudson River. When the towers collapsed, the wall's internal support was crushed. Without the basement floor slabs, the river began to push the wall inward. By early October, the wall had shifted a foot. If it failed, the river would have inundated Lower Manhattan's entire subway network. The path tunnels became a conduit for disaster. Millions of gallons of water flowed through the tubes, threatening to drown stations miles away. Recovery teams found haunting voids beneath the rubble. Shops frozen in time, with merchandise on the shelves and newspapers from that final morning. In a race against time, engineers drilled 1,000 new anchors through the wall and deep into the Manhattan schist bedrock to hold back the flood. Specialized chemical grouts were injected at 45-degree angles, reacting with the leaks to form a permanent, industrial-grade seal. The restoration was a miracle of will. In just 20 months, a new station rose from the ruins, and the first rescue train finally returned. Today, the wall remains, not just as a foundation, but as a monument to the engineering that saved the city from a secondary catastrophe. But the bathtub was only one part of the labyrinth. Beneath every street lies a network of arteries that have pulsed for 400 years. New York's sewer system is a sprawling hidden empire, over 7,000 miles of tunnels processing over 1 billion gallons of waste every day. The first lines were carved by the Dutch in the 1660s. Today, brick sewers from the mid-19th century are still the backbone of the city. In the dark, there are hidden cathedrals, massive concrete holding tanks designed to capture storm overflow and protect the harbor's soul. Deeper still is the Third Water Tunnel, a 60-mile project active since the 70s, a lifeline of fresh water hidden in the bedrock. Excavations often reveal ghosts of dead technology, pneumatic mail tubes and old trolley tracks, buried and forgotten as the city evolved. Few New Yorkers will ever see these spaces. For the crews who maintain them, it is a world of constant pressure, age-old stone, and silent vigilance. Manhattan is a vertical stack of history and necessity. Each layer of concrete hides a secret, and every secret is part of the city's will to endure. The underground always remembers. The deeper we go, the darker it gets. Wait for the final revelation. New York's story never truly ends. This was chapters 14 and 15. The hidden New York is only the beginning. See you in the next chapter. The bathtub is now a fortress of transit and trade, a reinforced multi-level empire where the past and the future intersect daily. Permanent concrete liners and massive counterforts now ensure that the slurry wall will stand for centuries, a silent sentinel beneath the memorial. 1.3 billion gallons of waste pulse through the city every day, a heartbeat of infrastructure that never stops and never sleeps. New York City, a masterpiece of human will, built over a landscape that refuses to be forgotten. The secrets are deeper than you think. New York's rise was not just one on the surface. Beneath the docks and forts lies a strategic underworld, a history of secret wars and hidden defenses. During the British occupation of 1776, the city's cellars became the front line of a shadow war. This was the era of the Culper spy ring. At places like Fraunces Tavern, officers and spies met in secret. Waterfront buildings were connected by basement passages used to move intelligence under the feet of the redcoats. The underground held horrors too. In converted warehouses like the Sugar House prison, thousands of American captives died in the damp, lightless depths of the British jails. As the Civil War loomed, the city prepared for an assault from the sea. New York Harbor became a circle of stone and fire. Before he led the Confederacy, Captain Robert E. Lee designed the defenses of Fort Totten, cavernous granite chambers built to store live explosives safely away from fire. In 1870, Fort Totten saw the construction of New York's first vehicular tunnel, a specialized route engineered at an angle to hide ammunition transport from the harbor. Rumors of a secret escape tunnel under the Long Island Sound persist to this day, a phantom connection between the harbor's greatest forts. Deep under Brooklyn lies the Atlantic Avenue Tunnel. Built in 1844, it is the world's first underground passenger rail passage. Bricked shut in 1861, the tunnel was forgotten for over a century, a ghost of industrial innovation left hollow beneath the city's growth. In 1980, it was rediscovered by 20-year-old Bob Diamond. He broke through a brick wall to find a perfectly intact subterranean world. Legends claim a steam locomotive is still buried within these walls, alongside secret documents and unmapped vaults. The tunnel remains a time capsule of silence. But the underground wasn't just for war. It was, and is, a place of commerce, a secondary city that drives New York's relentless economy. Beneath the feet of millions, thousands of sidewalk vaults expand the city's usable space, identified only by the glass vault lights embedded in the pavement. Before it was a food hall, Chelsea Market was the massive Nabisco factory. Its basement levels still hold the bones of an industrial giant. In these dark depths, the Oreo was invented. Today, the former boiler rooms serve as digital art spaces, blending the industrial past with modern imagination. This tradition continues at Turnstile, a modern hidden marketplace occupying a city block beneath 8th Avenue where commerce never stops. During the 1920s, the underground market was illegal but essential. Elite clubs like the 21 built sophisticated vaults to hide the city's true economy from the law. New York's underground is a honeycomb of nearly 7,000 miles of infrastructure and commercial voids, a vertical timeline of survival and profit. Modern engineers must navigate a spaghetti of history to keep the city running. Every new dig is a risk, a gamble against the forgotten structures of the past. The city beneath is more than just stone and steel. It is the repository of our ambitions, our defenses, and our secrets. The underground always remembers. New York's secrets go deeper than you think. Wait for the final chapter, where the deepest darkness will be revealed. New York's story never truly ends. The story of the hidden New York is drawing to its conclusion. The final secrets are yet to be revealed. See you in Chapter 11. Remember the Sugar House prison? a warehouse of death where more prisoners died in the dark than on the battlefield. Even the warehouses have ghosts. Fort Totten's gun batteries still stand, silent sentinels that once held the line against the world's most powerful navies. Stone and history remain. The purple glass under your feet is a window to a forgotten era, a light in the dark for a subterranean economy that never sleeps. The meat skewer of the 21 Club was more than a tool. It was a key to a kingdom of elite spirits, protected by the very bricks of the city. Everything rests on the bedrock, the Manhattan schist, the silent, ancient floor that supports the weight of our dreams and our disasters. New York City, a masterpiece of human will, built over a landscape that refuses to be forgotten. The secrets are deeper than you think. The journey isn't over. Manhattan is a vertical stack of history, and we've only just begun to scratch the surface. The underground always remembers. Beneath the city that never sleeps lies a world that never truly rests, a place where the boundaries between history and the supernatural begin to blur. The most famous ghost of the underground is a station, the ornate City Hall Loop. Closed in 1945, it remains a silent monument to an era of elegance the city outgrew. Urban legends speak of spectral transit workers and commuters from the turn of the century, still waiting for a train that will never arrive. Commuters who stay on the 6 train past the final stop can catch a glimpse of this time capsule, a fleeting look into a hidden world of glass and stone. But the legends grow darker in Hell's Kitchen. In the 1950s, stories emerged of the Pig Man, a disfigured butcher driven to madness in the neighborhood's secret tunnels. The legend reflected a gritty reality, a maze of unmapped tunnels used to move livestock and coal, a subterranean industry born of blood and fire. Separating fact from folklore is a challenge in the dark. These stories are the city's way of remembering its most brutal chapters of labor and survival. While Chapter 18 explores the myths, Chapter 19 reveals the literal foundations. Beneath the world's financial capital lies a record of a different kind. The very name Wall Street comes from the Dutch de Wall Straat, a defensive wall built in 1653 to protect New Amsterdam from invasion. To grow, New York had to consume the river. The city used landfill, dirt, trash, and even derelict ships to extend the island's borders into the water. In 2006, at 80 South Street, workers struck wood. Beneath several feet of muck, they found the 70-foot hull of a merchant ship from the late 1700s. This wasn't the only ghost of the harbor. At 175 Water Street, the Ronson ship was exhumed, a perfectly preserved time capsule from the colonial era. Trapped in the oxygen-free river mud, the wood refused to rot. These ships are the literal anchors of the modern financial district. At 85 Broad Street, history is just an inch below your feet. The foundations of the Lovelace Tavern and the city's first city hall were uncovered in the 70s. Wall Street is a vertical timeline. Every layer of stone and muck tells a story of ambition, defense, and the relentless drive for real estate. Whether built on ghosts or buried ships, New York is a city that never fully escapes its past. The underground is its memory. The deeper we go, the darker it gets. New York's secrets go further than you think. The underground always remembers. The journey is drawing to its close. The final secrets are yet to be revealed. See you in the next chapter. The Stadhuis was the city's first seat of power, its foundations now buried beneath the office towers of modern finance. Power is built on ghosts. Look down. The glass under your feet is a window to a forgotten era, a light in the dark for a subterranean economy that never sleeps. New York City, a masterpiece of human will, built over a landscape that refuses to be forgotten. The secrets are deeper than you think. New York's subterranean story is far from over. As the surface reaches its limit, the city is diving deeper into the bedrock than ever before. The Gateway program is the most ambitious rail project in the nation, a race to replace century-old tunnels that are literally rotting from the inside out. Engineers must navigate a primordial soup of river silt, using machines that essentially float in the mud as they carve a path to the future. In East Harlem, the 2nd Avenue subway is finally moving north, a project a century in the making, now breaking ground on its next great chapter. We are building deep rock empires. Grand Central Madison sits 15 stories below the street, a vertical frontier of glass, steel, and stone. At these depths, the city needs lungs. Industrial ventilation systems manage the piston effect, massive air pressure changes that could literally blow out windows. But the underground city faces an existential threat. Climate change and sudden cloudbursts are turning our transit veins into potential drowning traps. The MTA has a $6 billion roadmap to protect the system, installing thousands of barriers to shield stations from the rising tide. Innovative flex gates and massive marine doors are the city's new armor, ready to seal the underworld in seconds when the storms arrive. Even on a dry day, it is a constant war. 14 million gallons of water are pumped out of the subways every 24 hours just to keep the city dry. Our future may lie in repurposing the dark. From former bunkers turned into underground farms, to data centers cooled by the island's water table. Will we be forced underground? In the coming centuries, the city beneath may become as vital as the city above, a resilient, integrated masterpiece. We have reached the end of our journey. From the primeval past to the engineered future, we have seen the layers of the secret New York. New York is often called the city that never sleeps, yet beneath its streets lies a hidden world frozen in time. A world of forgotten rivers, buried cemeteries, secret bunkers, abandoned stations, and untold stories. Every skyscraper stands upon layers of history. Every street hides secrets. And beneath one of the world's greatest cities, another New York still waits to be discovered. This is the city beneath the city, the underground always remembers. We have mapped the shadows and unmasked the myths. The 7,000 miles of life beneath New York are the city's true heart. The sacrifice of the sandhogs and the ingenuity of the engineers remain the silent foundation of every life on the surface. We walk on their shoulders. From the private tracks of the elite to the shanties of the forgotten, the underground is a mirror of our world, a hierarchy of stone and steel. But nature has the longest memory. The bedrock of Manhattan supports the weight of our dreams, and the water always finds its way home. New York City, a masterpiece of human will, built over a landscape that refuses to be forgotten. The secrets are deeper than you think. Wait for the shadows to speak. The underground never forgets. Fade to black. This concludes the story of the hidden New York. Some secrets are meant to stay buried, but they are never truly gone. Thank you for joining us in the dark. The city is still watching,